What is good people, and welcome back to the season finale of the Talking Life podcast with Ryan and Suneet. It's a big day. A lot of energy to be brought to the podcast today. Suneet, how you feeling?
I'm feeling fantastic. Like you said, it's a massive day. It's the season finale. Different kind of energy we're on today, Ryan. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking about big things, Start of 2021. We're looking onto a new year. A lot of big ideas, big energy coming to today's podcast. But first, as this is the 8th and final episode of season 1, just want to take a minute to take a look back at the last 8 weeks of episodes, kind of discuss some of our favourites, and hopefully from all of this, we want to hear your feedback at home, people listening, and how we can improve and make season 2 a lot better, a lot more engaging, or just understanding the things that you like or you want to hear more of. But Suneet, just to get us going, taking a look back at season 1, what have you found it?
Well, I think the first thing is how easy has it been to have these conversations. Like when we went into this, me and Ryan both were thinking like, all right, we're going to do a podcast. We're going to talk about certain things, but we were a little bit apprehensive about how, like, certain things, how are we going to discuss for 40, 50 to an hour long conversations on. But it's been so easy. Like we could talk, but on most of these topics are way over an hour. We struggle to hit the hour mark on many occasions. So one thing about this has just been so easy, so much fun to do. And yeah, that was a surprise really for me.
Yeah, when we initially started the podcast, we had discussions on how long do we want this podcast to be. The shorter ones, of course, are more, you can pack more of a punch and a bit more digestible. You can have these crazy long ones in which you really have to have a lot of good content. For us, an hour was about just enough for us to still have a proper long and better conversation, but not feel rushed. And even then, we have been feeling rushed because it's like you're just trying to pack everything in and trying to get your points in across. But that's an area we want to kind of explore next season. A big thing on this first season was let's just get going. Let's get that. Let's be the action, not those captions, all of that. Let's get some content out there. Let's start having these topics and these discussions around all these different conversations. So we wanted it to be very raw, very real. And I hope that's come across in the way we're talking. Maybe season 2 is a bit more refined and a bit more, I don't know, polished, but I kind of like the rawness of this is our proper conversations. You know what I mean, Steve?
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And I feel like also the topics we've discussed as well has been in line with what we would talk about generally. Now, for most people who might not have noticed, we have tried to give some sort of structure. I did do a poll a couple of weeks back on what sort of people, how they were finding the conversations, because our structure was kind of based around, we did 1 week, we went for a more deeper, thought-provoking conversation, where we touched on definitely a more serious kind of topic. And then the following week, we'd do a bit more of a light-hearted conversation. We're just talking a bit more from a cultural perspective and just a bit more, not as deep, not as much of a thought-provoking type of conversation. Now, I'll be honest, on that poll, there was an overwhelming love for thought-provoking conversation, I'll tell you that. It was about 90 to 10% that people preferred those thought-provoking conversations more, which is good because we love having those conversations, definitely a lot more. And yeah, they were definitely, I don't know about you, but they were definitely my highlights of this season, were those more thought-provoking conversations. We really got deep into those key topics.
I'm glad you said that, and I'm glad that was kind of the feedback coming back, because while we of course love talking, or the barbershop talk, it's fun, there's those ones that go a bit deeper, and those are definitely my favorite episodes. If I was looking back or suggesting, hey, these are some episodes you should look back on and take a listen, if you're this is the first one you're listening to, as in being the 8th, which is a great one to start with. It's going to be a great one to start with. The goals, I definitely, if I'm just looking at the talking money and purpose, talking social media, talking life away from home, the bit more deep thought-provoking ones, I thought those were really great episodes. I love all of them.
Yeah.
I love all of them, but those ones, as a place to start listening, would be my recommendations. What was there a highlight for you, Suneet?
I mean, I'd have to just agree with what you said. Yeah, definitely the more thought-provoking ones. Don't get me wrong, the light-hearted conversation is always fun. They're always enjoyable. So if you are into that, because like I said, there was a 10% who were into that, and if you are into that, I don't think we're going to be saying, you know, we're going to stick to one route. That's never going to be the case with us. We're definitely keep it a bit more flexible and more open-minded. But definitely the more thought-provoking conversations we had this season were more enjoyable, just because there's so much more to talk about. And if you've probably noticed when you listen to those episodes, you probably will notice towards the end of all those episodes our speed of conversation going quicker and quicker, because we're just trying to get through as much as possible, because there is so much to talk about. So there might even be some part twos coming up in the future seasons on those, because we can just talk on those for hours. I'd say it's difficult to give a real favorite, but I really enjoyed that social media conversation that we had. I thought that was very topical and very interesting.
Yeah, that one was definitely one where you're going to hear the voice increase its speed and sound toward the end as we're like trying to rush it all in. But that one was a great one. And I think it leads nicely into what we're kind of thinking for season 2. Now, season 2 is going to be a couple months away, maybe a bit longer. We're going to be refining some things, upping the production value a little bit. You know, we've been raw, we've been real this time, but it is nice to kind of have that better production value, some extra sounds coming in, some extra quality, some clips definitely going to be coming in, but also structuring the podcast a little differently. You may see the introduction of some guests. You may see a shortened version of the podcast in which we're kind of hitting some key areas and focusing it a little bit more. But that's all to come in season 2. Bigger, better, and talking more life.
Talking more live. And yeah, like Ryan said at the start, this season was very much about getting content out there. We had a lot to say, we had a lot to chat about, just getting it out there, getting into the habit and routine of just doing this, because obviously it's new for both of us. So it's just about trying to get into a habit so we can just understand this world a bit better and how it goes. Obviously, like Ryan said, next season will be a lot more refined, and hopefully for the people listening, you can give us some feedback on what you'd want for the next season, what sort of things you liked about the first season, and what that you want us to continue going forward, and what sort of things that you'd like to come the next season that you didn't see this season. You know, one thing again is potentially those shorter podcasts. A lot of these are an hour, so if you do prefer the shorter podcast, let us know. Give us feedback. We are all ears. We're gonna, like Ryan said, a couple months where we refine, we listen, we learn, and we come back stronger for the next season.
And while we're talking plans, this takes us perfectly into today's topic. Today we'll be discussing 2021 goals. You know, it's that time of the year, New Year's resolutions. We feel renewed. We feel like we can put the past behind us. Let's not talk about last year. Let's not talk about what happened. Let's look forward. Let's look big. Let's look better. Who can we be? Are we getting in the gym at the start of the year? They're closed. Are we getting those home workouts? Are we getting running? Are we getting active? Are we starting to explore new areas, reading new books? We want to explore goals. We want to see how we can get better, but also just firstly have a discussion about, are they worth it? Suneet, do you want to open up on that question?
Of course. So for me, I'll be honest with you, this is the first year I've really set myself goals, or New Year's resolutions, whatever you want to call it. And when I say set, I mean actually set myself goals, because there's a difference between actually setting goals and just providing generic statements at the start of the year that you want to do better in this year. I think that is where we need to distinguish between the two. Because I've many a year I have said, I want to go gym more, I want to eat more healthier at the start of a year, throwing out generic statements that really mean nothing. They're not tangible at all. There's not something I can actually achieve. And basically, I think in that aspect, this year I've actually tried to first of all write them down, which I've never done before. But I've actually used a technique that has gone back a long way. I remember in business GCSE I first heard this technique. Now we've all probably heard of it. Probably heard of it. I'm still hearing about it today, even in my current accounting exams that I'm doing.
Can I guess?
What is it?
Can I guess? It seems all too predictable.
Go for it.
Are these SMART objectives?
These are SMART objectives, right? Now, when I first used to hear about this acronym SMART, I used to laugh about it. I used to be like, whatever. No one's actually using the big businessmen in the ivory towers are not using SMART to determine, their business objectives or goals, right? But then I'm thinking, even now to this day, when I'm doing my accounting exams, it is in my exams they talk about SMART objectives and how they help. The fact that they continue to use this abbreviation, this technique constantly throughout all exams I've done shows that there's got to be some sort of logic behind it. And actually, I found there is. It is incredibly logical. If you can use this to actually set goals, it's such a better way of having a tangible goal rather than a generic statement of, oh, I want to go to the gym more. Okay, cool. How are you going to do that? Anyone could say that. But if you just say that, you're not going to, that's not motivating. That's not going to actually have something where you can tangibly see, okay, that's what I want to do by a certain point, and that's going to help me achieve it. So this year round, I've actually set myself SMART objectives. And the main things, for anyone who don't know, SMART, the abbreviation stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So when you're setting a goal, you want to hit all those 5 points. And you want to make sure that the goal has those characteristics in them. I think for me, I don't know about you, Ryan, but for me, the main things is your goal needs to be measurable, and there needs to be a time frame specified. By when do you want to achieve this goal, or how many times a week, how many times a month do you want to do this goal, type thing. I think that changes the complexity of the goal completely and makes it tangible. And that's why, to circle back and to answer your question, are they worth it? Yes, if you are setting proper goals and they are smart.
So let me peel it back a little bit, okay? Because you've come in, you're telling me your method that you're approaching this year's goals with. Smart, yeah. Nice shout out to the GCSEs and also business jargon that we hear in our offices every day. People trying to make things happen. But this is your first year setting proper goals.
Proper goals, yeah.
So let me just ask you, why are you now setting goals, and why in the previous years? Because we've discussed stuff around goals. We've discussed like, are you setting anything? Yeah, you mentioned a few things. But why this year are you now taking this approach to actually set yourself goals? Why in the past didn't you do that? Is that just because you weren't thinking about it as deeply, or were you not ready for them, or were you just something else?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I think it was a combination of me being a bit lazy and not actually seeing the importance of them. And like I said, in the past, I would set myself generic goals, and because they were so generic and I would never achieve them, I would think, oh, what's the point then? I never actually circle back to think about them. What's the point of setting them in the first place? That's my own issue. That's my own thought process blocking my ability to actually set proper goals. And if I think, like I said, this is the first time I've ever actually written my goals down, so I can actually see them. A lot of the time in the past, if someone was to say, oh, what's your New Year's resolution? I would think of the first thing coming to my head and say it. Of course I want to do that. Of course I want to better myself. But I'll never actually sit down and think about them and write them down. So I think that's a combination of me being lazy, but also letting other things take my focus. So I've been pretty much in exams since my GCSEs. I went from GCSEs to A levels to uni to ACAs, which are accounting qualifications. So I've always had something to take my focus. And I feel like I've always allowed that to have my full attention, rather than thinking, okay, well, I've got that. Of course, I'm going to have my full attention. That's why within my goals, which we're going to talk about later, I'm not talking about my exams this year. That's been a goal. These are other ones that I want to focus on as well and pay more attention to.
So I think that's a great insight into the way anybody comes around to goals.
Yeah.
So I set my first set of goals in 2019. So this is my third year of properly writing down the goals, tracking them, and just seeing how they affect me and what I take on. Before that was a year after. So it's my second year after university. You're in university. My focus is on having a good time. That was my goal. Have a great time. And then I started saying, okay, how am I going to actually put these together? Or what is a goal? What is with it? And through these years of process, I've learned that they are important, but only if you start to apply them the right way, as you say, in kind of smart objectives, and make sure they're more measurable. But that being said, there's a learning curve when you're first approaching them, because everyone has gone through it where they're just like, yes, I'm going to do this. Like last year, I remember I had a heavy Christmas and New Year's that involved a lot of drinking. I got to the start of the year. I said to Elaine, I said, you know what? I'm not going to drink for the next 3 months. And I mean, that was a loose goal. I wasn't writing it down or anything. But I just said, you know, I don't need to drink. I don't need that. I can go out. I can have conversations. I can be sociable without it. 2 weeks later, I'm having a drink again. And those are the kind of goals we set ourselves. We have these good ideas in our minds in which we say, I'm going to do this. But because we haven't written it down, because we haven't shared it with anyone to make it accountable to us, and it's just sitting there in the ether, we just let it be an idea. And then once we fail, we're like, well, I didn't really commit to it anyway, so I'm not that fussed about it. But to come back to the point, are goals worth it? 100% for everybody, no matter what you do. Whether like Suneet said, he's been in a more focused environment in which he's trying to get a certain qualification, or for somebody who's trying to get a degree, you don't have to make your goals about one thing. They can be about small things, from just being more practical in your day-to-day, or going out and getting more exercise. You don't have to focus in one area. You can let a bigger overarching theme take over what you want to achieve, but just focus on the maybe smaller habits that may be able to get you there and to push you. So I don't think we need to go back and to like debate whether are goals even worth it, or should people really be thinking about New Year's resolutions, or should they be doing them at all the times? Because we naturally we look for a reason to reset. You know, we as humans, we want to say, when I've done this, I will do this. Once this semester is over, once this year is over. And yes, why we all need to start right now and be the most proactive people we could possibly be. The year is a natural position for everyone to reset, to take a look back, to review, and to move forward. So we both agree on that.
100%. I feel like if you want to better yourself, if you do want to better yourself, you should set goals. If you're not bothered, then fine, don't need to set any. But if you do want to better yourself and continuously improve, then it's 100% worth it to set goals. And like we said, make them smart.
Absolutely. So let's get into some goals. Right? We're gonna start talking goals, and I'm gonna kind of preface this first with some of my experience over the last 2 years and goals. Okay. So
help me as a new goal setter. You can help me with your experiences.
So let me walk you through my story. I have it here in front of me, and it's I'd say it's typical of a new goal setter.
Okay.
So my first year, I set about 12 to 13 goals for myself. If I just quickly look at this piece of paper, right? Ideas of things I'd love to achieve by the end of the year. So those included run 1,000 miles, bike 1,500 miles, complete a marathon, complete a triathlon, complete a Tough Mudder, read 20 books, save 20% of income, write 12 blog posts, do 10 interviews for my website, 30 vlogs. And you can kind of see the theme. Get 500 LinkedIn connections. A lot of quantifiable numbers that I'm putting out there. I'm like, this sound great. These sound like amazing things I'd like to achieve. But one of the problems when I now look back at these goals is during that time, and when I wrote them nice on a big piece of paper, stuck it up on my wall, never did I really step back and say, how am I going to figure this out? How am I going to do this properly, practically? I took these and I say, yes, if I run 20 miles a week, I'll run 1,000 miles in a year. You know? And while that's like, oh, okay, great. But did I take into consideration everything from my work situation, from life events that are going on, from just how I'm going to be in different seasons, in winter, in summer? I probably didn't. Now, if we're being really quantifiable, if that's a word, I don't know if that's a word. I'm just saying, I'm throwing it out there. I achieved 43% of my goals in year one. Okay, I did some of my athletic goals. I did some of them. I did a marathon, did triathlon, but there's some other goals in there in which they were just too high. If I'm being really realistic, and we were looking back now at the SMART objectives, we're looking back to that realism. What is to say I'm going to go from reading 2 to 3 books a year to me then writing I'm going to read 20 books this year?
Yeah.
Are you a fool? Why am I going to do that? Just because it's a nice idea, you know? So that was year 1. So I regroup, I come back in 2020 and I think, okay, we've achieved some goals. Let's go bigger. Now, my first mistake when I look back at 2020 and I laugh at myself is I set 12 to 13 goals. In 2020, I set 15 goals. I set more. I've only achieved a 43% rate of completion, and I'm setting myself more goals. I'm going bigger. I've not taken a look at that year and said, hang on, how can I first achieve what I've put in front of me? Yeah, I'm already wanting to do more. So that's another space of realism, and I wasn't really measuring those properly because, yes, I kept them in front of me all year. Yes, I saw them, but I wasn't reviewing them. So in 2020, I set up a monthly review with a friend. We started to review, but as life happens and as 2020 happened, things dropped off.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've made the mistake, firstly, of not doing, of setting myself more goals than my initial year and doing some of the same mistakes. Now, a large majority of them could fall into an athletic category. Swim 100,000 yards, bike 4,000 miles, bench a certain amount. You know, they're like athletic, nice to have, trying to keep it a bit fun, keep it a bit light. And now we can go into excuses of why I didn't achieve one or why I didn't achieve something else because of a certain situation. But the reality is it helps no one.
Yeah.
You benefit nothing from me telling you why that. Neither do I, because the reality is if I wanted to make it happen, truly wanted to make that happen, I would have found a way. And so I looked through these goals, and I won't say the exact number, but I achieved less. So I did 43%. I go lower than 43% in 2020. Right. And so this year, when I was coming to my goals, I had to stop. I had to take a hard look. I say, let me properly review what's happened here. And let me start taking on to other considerations, because too quickly am I just like, okay, need to set myself new goals for this year. Let me just sit down for half an hour. This sounds nice. This sounds nice. This sounds nice. This sounds nice. There we have it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you've created yourself a year's worth of goals in 20 minutes worth of thinking. And you've not reviewed it with anyone. You've not reviewed it. You've not talked it through. So when you come down to 2 months later and you're starting to have issues, you're like, well, I didn't actually think that through in the first place. So this year I took the method of going, okay, what categories in my life would I like to explore? Is that financial? Is that athletic fitness? Is that my traditional work? Is it personal development? You know, what kind of areas do I want to explore? Then I kind of moved over and said, what are the life events happening next year? What could come in the way? You know, okay, I'm sorting my stuff out to move back to America. I've got to start planning a wedding. I've got a long distance relationship where it's going to be a lot of the year this year.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to factor in some other points just so I can start thinking all of this. And then I go, okay, I know I'm looking at 2021, but can I just think a bit bigger than this? What are the overarching themes I want to achieve in life? Now, let me not complicate this crazy, but when I strip this back and said, for me to be happy, go further 5 years, 10 years, what are the things that I want there? So those include financial independence, not relying on, you know, my traditional work to be the main source, because if that's gonna hold me, that's gonna keep on my brain. Community, point number 2. I want a life that has friends involved, around I'm a part of a community. We have the same kind of goals. We're moving toward the same thing, and we're enjoying each other's space. The third is a life full of experiences. I don't want it to be just do this work, I've achieved this, because too often you get caught up in that. Let me achieve the next thing. Let me make more money.
Yeah.
And then you realize, well, what I don't remember making money, but I do remember going on this trip. So I have to keep that in front of me.
Yep.
I have to keep let me step back. Let me make sure I'm getting these experiences. And the last one in there, I was like, okay, how do I find a word that's, or find something that says, I want to continue growing. I want to continue developing. And this kind of comes back to the old business GCSEs. So for those of you who took GCSE or business studies or something, you would have probably heard the word Kaizen. Do you remember what Kaizen means?
Very vaguely. Very vaguely.
So I think it's the Japanese word for continuous improvement. And it's used, I think, more traditionally in the sense of like factories and big operations in which they're trying to make it better and better through different ideas, and there's all these different methods of like suggestions and going forward. But I just want to summarize that as my fourth point: Kaizen, continuously improving, looking to get better in health, relationship, whatever. So those are the overarching themes. So I took those three different things, categories I like to explore in 2021, themes I want to achieve in life, and life events happening in 2021 in order to start to shape my 2021 goals. So that's what I took from previous years of experience and trying to look through to 2021 in order to get that number up, firstly past 43%, which is disgraceful, but hopefully into those high, close to 100, over 70%, 80%, make sure I'm actually achieving these goals. So those, as to you as a question, Suneet, what would I say to someone starting goals? That would be my first piece of advice.
Well, I mean, I think that's a very detailed analysis from you, and that just shows a person who's been through setting goals before and learned from it. Because from my perspective, if I talk about the goals I've set, there's definitely some of your faux pas that you mentioned that you had in the past. I'm definitely just from you saying that, I can already think, oh, I've done that this time around. Now, I haven't gone to the scale that you've done. I'm not set myself 12 goals. My thought process was I set myself small, so I've set myself 4 goals this new year, because I thought I'm not. This is the first time I'm really setting goals, so I'm new to this. So I thought the opposite. I don't want to set too many. I want to set 4 goals that I can really tailor, think about, focus on, that I can achieve, because I'm not used to setting goals. And then as years go on, I can think about setting more once I get into a routine of setting them, type thing. But in terms of the themes that you've explored, I definitely haven't gone into that much thought. I sort of focus on 2 areas, one being sort of physical, mental health, and the other being finance. So I've got 2 goals related to physical, mental health, 2 goals related to finance. So I feel that there's certain elements to what you said that I have actually sort of tapped into, but I just haven't gone into the depth and detail as to someone who experience like you has gone into, which definitely I can get just from this conversation. I can take and think, okay, now I can explore more within my goals.
If this was my first year writing goals now, I would take the approach you're taking.
Okay.
In doing 4 goals, yes, I'd hope to look at those overarching themes. But when I mentioned I'm setting 12 and setting 15 goals, that's ridiculous. Yeah. Why am I setting so much? Let me achieve some of the. You get so caught up in like, it's fun to kind of think. It's fun to just think of what you can achieve. Yeah. And it's fun to write a bunch down. But that's where you get lost, because you think, well, I'm not doing that, but I'm kind of moving forward in this one. Yeah. Whereas if you kind of condense it down and have 4 goals, like you've done, and kind of focus on a more 2 areas, in that way you're actually going to. I feel like you'd be more likely to achieve them, because you're not so spread out. Your brain's not thinking all over the place. So let's get into your goals. Let's do it. Start us off. You said you got 4 goals. You're expressing financial interest. You're expressing physical interest.
Yes.
Give us the overview. Give us the rundown first. What are those 4 goals?
Yeah. So like I said, 2 relating to physical, mental, 2 related to finance. So number 1, okay, Since I moved to Manchester, I'll be honest with you, my gym activity has significantly decreased to the point now where it's almost nil. It's just ever since I moved. I started going to the gym when I was in doing my A levels, and I was really good for the first few years. Even at uni, I was pretty decent. Since I moved to Manchester, it's been really poor. So a big thing is getting back into the gym consistently, and I'll set myself a target of going 4 times a week for an hour. So if I can do an hour-long session 4 times a week. Now I'm gonna because of my work, and just me trying to make it achievable and realistic, because of my work and how busy it can get. I'm 2 out of those 4 days will have to be a weekend. I will have to go on Saturdays and Sundays, because that will give me more motivation to then go twice during the week. If I say I'm going to go once on the weekend and 3 times during the week, it just won't happen. I'll be too tired. I'll just find an excuse. So if I can go 2 times on the weekend and then find 2 days in the week to go to the gym for an hour, perfect. Okay, so that's number 1. Now, obviously, that's COVID related because right now gyms aren't open. So if in the absence of gyms, I want to do 4 home workouts where I'm doing a HIIT session. Now, there's lots of HIIT sessions you can find on YouTube or on Instagram. Loads of people are doing HIIT sessions. So they sometimes range from 30 to 45 minutes. So I probably want to do the 45-minute ones and doing those 4 times a week whilst gym is away. And then when gym comes back, I translate that to the gym. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, this is a more financial one. I do like to read. I've got a Kindle. I do read books, but I often read fiction books. I like stories. I like getting lost in the story and, letting it take me, however crazy that story might be. I actually want to get more clued up in the financial world. So I'm setting myself a target of reading 1 book a month, non-fiction. Now, I want the most to be related to finance in terms of building up money, savings, talking about pensions, talking about credit, all that. However, that's going to be my main focus of that. But I also, every other month or so, I want to actually tap into my degree a bit more. Because I feel like ever since I've got my degree, I've lost touch with it. My degree was mainly around politics and economics. So I want to read, like I said, maybe every other month or every couple of months, I'll read either a politics or an economics book. Because I actually think that actually does tie in quite well with finance as well, because it's pretty much about the world. It's going to teach me more about the world and the way the world works. Stuff that you just don't learn in school, right? So that's another goal. The third goal is, again, more financial, which I've actually already kind of done. I want to set up a lifetime ISA. I actually have no ISAs before this year because life got in the way. But I've always wanted to set up a lifetime ISA, and I want to set up a separate savings account. Now, my initial plan for reasoning for setting up a lifetime ISA was for a first property, right? Since having a conversation with my brother, got to shout out my brother in particular, who's very clued up on this, and my other family, we had a big conversation today, my sister, my dad, and then my brother as well. I've realised that lifetime ISAs and really any sort of saving schemes from the government, it's more for long term. It's more thinking about retirement and saving for that. So I've kind of had to revise that. I think, okay, I'm setting up my lifetime ISA for the future. In terms of property, stuff like that, that's just going to be through generic savings. But I've got my lifetime ISA set up. Now my goal is to get it gives you a limit of £4,000 a year you can put into that ISA. My goal is to make sure I hit that. Right now I'm not, because my current wage bracket and other expenses don't allow for that. But hopefully in the coming months I can increase my monthly payments to make sure I'm hitting the £4,000 a year limit. Okay, and my final one is to basically, because this is definitely as a result of COVID, I've realised I just don't I've not got enough hobbies in my life right now. I go to work, I go to the gym, and that's pretty much it. I want to start doing something once a week that gets me out of my flat, gets me doing something, gets me my brain thinking or active, or some sort of competition which I enjoy doing. And one thing that I've constantly done throughout my life, right, on and off, definitely on and off. I don't do it every year, but I've done it's something that I've always enjoyed. It's playing badminton. I love playing badminton. I used to play it a lot more when I was younger, and I played it on and off. And badminton is something that anyone can enjoy. It's competitive. It's really active. I often sweat after a badminton session. It does get you moving a lot, and it gets you sweating. Listen.
I often sweat as if people don't usually sweat.
Listen, Prince Andrew apparently don't sweat. We can go, you know what I mean? But anyway, yeah. So it gets me active, gets me out the flat, and I love playing badminton. So I want to get back into that. So I want to do that once a week.
Prince Andrew don't sweat.
I was just saying. Apparently, some people have a condition where you don't sweat. So I thought I'd let the people know that I sweat. And I definitely sweat when I play badminton. So yeah, that's my final one. My final one is to start doing badminton once a week. Obviously, that is definitely with hopefully leisure centres being open sometime soon.
Okay. Wicked. I love the way you broke them down. I love the way you've gone through them. I won't be a friend, I feel like, if I didn't question them.
Please do.
And go through them and just hear some more thoughts. First, I love them. I like the different areas that you're hitting. The gym and the COVID one's the initial one that I just go back straight to number one, because we've had this conversation before. We've talked about getting better in the gym. We've talked about moving it forward. And so your goal is to go 4 times a week. Nice little measurable kind of number. You've already recognised 2 of that's going to have to come on the weekend. And the first question as I want to ask is, what's the reason last year you weren't going to gym? What's the reason that since Manchester, why has Manchester stopped that? What is it? Is it work? What's that reason?
Yeah, well, the thing is, this is a theme that most people, if you follow our podcast, people will start to know a theme with me. I'm a lazy guy, right? I'm lazy and I'm full of excuses. 1 and 2. And that is pretty much point blank what it is the fact that I came to Manchester, and listen, my job is difficult, but whose isn't? Whose isn't? You know what I mean? And that's the excuse I used to make. You know, we have, within my job, we have a busy season, which from January to March, you're not allowed to take any holiday, and you're pretty much working, not through all of it, but through a large period of that, you're working from 9 till 10 o'clock at night, sometimes 11, sometimes, you know what I mean? It can get real late. And you get tired, you build up more excuses. Sometimes you're even working on the weekend, and then you come out of busy season, but you're still stuck in the fact that you're out of habit, you're out of routine, and it just sort of follows and continues, and life gets in the, and then you just start making excuses. It all falls down, and that's what happened to me. It just all fell down. So
let me then move into my red flag. It's probably my only bigger red flag in all your goals. Because I think they're good. But because you said you have to do 2 on the weekend, right? And I like you've identified that, but it sets itself up for life events and things getting in the way and failures, because it means you have no wiggle room. What if you can't go twice? What if you go out and enjoy yourself on a Saturday night and your Sunday's just not going to happen? You've got. What if you're going back to Nottingham to see the family? Yeah. What happens when there's just something that's taking up your weekend and that's not possible? There's no wiggle room. What's the fail safe? Yeah. You know, is it a category between I do 3 to 4 times a week? Is it I try and get in the morning 3 times a week or 4 times a week? Is there some room for what happens when, because you know, the minute you miss one, then you kind of open the window. Well, I'll just miss next week. I just missed the week after that. What's the reset button in all of this? Yeah, that's a very good point, and this is why I'm happy we're having this conversation, because you've already called me out and exposed me of already making excuses. Because I actually prefaced the whole I'm going to do twice on weekends because this is to make it seem like I thought, this is me, being proactive and me making sure that I'm going to go. But actually, now that you've called me out, I'm realizing it's just an excuse. I'm creating an excuse that, I can't go during the week. If I want to have the wiggle room and shift one to the week, it's not going to happen, because like you just said, you're right. If I'm just going to be that strict to just say I have to go on the weekends and everything else, if that's my mentality, then what you said, it will happen, because weekends obviously can get very busy. I can have to go back to Nottingham, or I might have live things that happen. So yeah, I need to refine that. 4 times a week, and I would actually probably say I need to try and get comfortable with the idea of going before work. That is a big issue for me. Having to wake up earlier to go to gym is something that my brain doesn't sit well with me. But I know if I can get into a habit of doing that, it will make my life so much easier. So that is one area I probably need to focus on more within these goals and work out, okay, how do I start that habit of going before work during the week? Because that will open me up to a lot more better stuff. And we don't need to find the solution now, but that's why I think it's always good for when you're setting goals to have conversations with other people, just to check yourself.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with someone last night about the goals because I was thinking, I need to talk to somebody about this because I'm just saying stuff here. And yes, I like it, but what am I missing? Why have I got my blinkers on? Next one is your 12 books. Love that. The way you've kind of thought about it is similar to how I'm going to talk about the way I've tried to structure my book once, because in the past, as I mentioned, I said, let me just read 20 books. I didn't define them in any way. I didn't structure them in any way. My only question again to you would be, you enjoy reading fiction. You're right. You enjoy reading fiction, yeah. Your goal is to read non-fiction.
Yeah.
Did you say those 12 books are all financial and political?
Yeah. So, well, here's the thing. I definitely want to start out with financial. Okay. And I also want to tap into my degree, which was half politics, half economics. So that is going slightly away from the finance world and going more political world and economic words. The reason why I really want to go start off with finance, because I don't know enough. Even having a conversation about my other goal, lifetime ISA, yesterday with my brother was schooling me. He was schooling me on ISAs and on saving accounts, on just basically how the way works, because he's done a lot of research into this. He's been really looking into it. And I'm just thinking, I shouldn't need to be schooled on this at this age. I shouldn't need to be. So I feel like there's going to be more focus on financial books, learning about the financial world a bit more. But it's not going to be all on that. Like I said, maybe every 2 months, every 3 months, I go to a political book. Maybe the month after that, I go to an economics book. And then I go back to finance.
Well, the reason I ask is because when you read fiction books, right, roughly, how long does it take you to read a fiction book?
I mean, like I said, I don't read enough to give you an answer to that, to be honest. But if I'm reading... Oh, hold on, a fiction book. Yeah, so if I read a fiction book, probably take... a fiction book, 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. So say 2 to 3 weeks. Are you saying you're going to read a fiction book this year?
I'm probably, yeah. I want to significantly reduce it though.
You want to, because you still want to do things you enjoy.
Yeah, of course.
You still want to enjoy reading fiction books, right?
Yeah.
And do you constantly read books back to back, or do you usually like read a book, have breaks, put it down, forget that you read again? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you set yourself 12 books, financial and political, right?
It's too much.
The fact is, and I found this the hard way, is that not every book is great. And not every book you find interesting. I've been struggling to learn that I'm allowed to not finish a book if I just don't like it. I was like sitting on some books like for months, like reading the damn same chapter because brain keeps drifting off, thinking, oh, I've got to read it. Why? I don't like the book. It's not. I don't feel like it's giving me anything, and it's holding me up. If I'm constantly reading things that is new to me and hard for me to understand, then I'm like, I'm not going to enjoy it either. There needs to be some discipline in like doing something harder, like reading, going out and reading a book that you're not used to. But there also needs to be room in there where you can mix it up with what you are more interested in too. So you're still getting that rhythm of, okay, let me read a fiction book. So I read a fiction book 1 month, I read a financial political book the next month. Just to kind of give yourself again that space to really achieve the goal and not feel like, God, January's gone, February's gone, I'm already 2 months behind.
Yeah.
And now they're piling up on me.
Yeah.
So just a thought, that was the other thought.
No, that's a good point. Yeah. I think I definitely should probably, first of all, I think I do need to reduce it. A book a month is probably pushing myself a bit too far there. So I need to revise that number potentially.
It could be a fiction book as well. It could be 12 books, but one could be a fiction. Or, to change it. The lifetime ISA one, separate savings account. We're on the same time for wavelength. I'll try.
I think, to be fair, I think that the whole topic of finance is a conversation for another time, which we can go into a lot more in more detail, maybe in next season, I think.
Yeah. But I like that goal, and the hobbies one. I think that's a big one for people, especially people who don't do a lot of new stuff, and especially when you're working all the time. You need a relief. That's if you're not someone who plays loads of sports or do something else, like you need to learn something new or just get out there and do something new. And I was, when you were saying hobbies, I was like, are you going to define? I was wondering, like, are you going to say something? And then you said badminton. I was like, oh, okay, he knows what he wants to go and do.
Yeah.
So that seems like you. That seems good. Do you know where you'd play? Do you know who you'd play with in Manchester?
Yeah. So where I play is the question mark. I'm trying to find a leisure centre that's close to me because I live right in town. There's a lot of gyms, but I don't know if there's a lot of leisure centres about. So that's something I need to look into. In terms of who I play with, I've already had a chat with the girlfriend. She seems like she's down to play a week. I've also got a mate in Manchester who went to uni together, and we've been saying since uni we want to start playing badminton. So I could also, I need to get him out and play as well, because I've always played it on and off. I've never really played it I've never really focused and played it weekly and really actually. But I do love playing it. And I do want to get better at it. So yeah, that's in the works. I'm in the process of finding a venue. But yeah, I've got some people definitely who I can play with.
Wicked. So Suneet's 4 goals. He smashed them out. We've got the books. We've got the hobbies. We've got a bit of finance. We've got a bit of gym. Seems like the nice. And season 2, it would be nice for us to revisit this.
Yes, definitely.
Maybe 6 months down the line, take a little time to say, are we doing this? Are we as great as we think? Can we get this done? Okay, so let me get into my 2021 goals. I've told you the kind of way I've started to think about them, some of my errors in the past, and now moving forward. Okay, like you, I've kind of hit on different areas. I still am kind of failing to keep it succinct. I've set myself the least amount of goals I have, so I've got 1. So I have 8 goals this year. So I've reduced. Finally,
That's a lot better.
I'm getting lower. So I'm like, let me get more focused. I'm getting closer. Still couldn't resist trying to achieve some other stuff. But the first one, okay, financial, is invest £3,000. Okay, I've put a hard figure on it.
Yeah.
Invest. Last year, it wasn't a goal per se, but it was something I wanted to do. But it was an achievable amount of like savings or a cushion in which I was like, okay, I'm going to feel comfortable to kind of take the leap and start investing money, because like you say, ISAs and stuff, they're a lot longer term. Yeah. But I want to start thinking about something more immediate, and also moving to America. I've also got to manage where's my money going, where I can actually take that to America and use it.
Yeah.
Okay. So how am I going to do that? Firstly, I need to be schooled up. I need to learn. I need to get the education. I need to read the right things. I need to start asking people. I think asking people like your brother who's learning it. There's people around us who are doing this.
Yeah.
Can I reach out and make some more friends who are doing this? Can we talk about this? So that's the goal.
I would advise, drop a DM to my brother if you really need some help. He's very knowledgeable on this.
You've heard that. I'm coming for you. Next one. Sorry, phone's buzzing. Of course, it's Saturday midday. We're moving along. Is the books one. Now, like you, in the past, what have I done? I've said read 20 books. Last year, I said read a book a month. Okay. Unlike you, I'm really not a fiction reader at all. Like I don't like fiction. I can't say I don't like it because I haven't given it enough opportunity, but I'm much more of a non-fiction person, biographies, life books, all that kind of stuff. But this year I broke it down. So I set myself read 9 books, 3 in financial, 3 in social cultural, and 3 in smart thinking. Now, I always say smart thinking because it's a section at Waterstones, and I love it.
Okay, yeah.
It was section Waterstones, smart thinking. Like, yeah, that's smart. But I'm trying to break it down. And firstly, I'm not giving myself the whole 12 months to read a book a month because I likely will drop off at some point.
Yeah.
So 9, I might read a book in 2 weeks, and I might read another one straight away after that. And you get ahead. But then I might not read for a month and a half, 2 months. Yeah. So I'm trying to give myself a bit of room to say, okay, life may happen, but also 3 financial books. Okay, we can find 3 that, because when I have read financial books in the past, I found them really heavy and really hard to kind of stick with and get through and understand. Whereas, say, the social, cultural, and smart thinking ones, they're a lot easier to just gravitate towards. These are people's theories, these are the ideas. So let me break it down and kind of break it out like that. But also, let me try and pick these early. Let me not get to 6 months down and think, okay, what's the next book? Let me have some time, which I haven't done yet. I ordered a bunch of books from Amazon yesterday, but I still haven't done like, okay, these are the 9 ones I'd like to do, just so they're in front of me. I can see them, I can pick them up if I need to. So we've got invest a certain amount of money, we've got read some books. Next is, I said one of the areas I want to focus on in 2021 is traditional work. And so I want to get promoted to the next level at my job. It's achievable this year. I've just got to do the right things. I said, how am I going to achieve this? I said, I have to work smart, I have to work hard, and I have to work honest. Honest is because, you know, work can kind of become very consuming. It can take over a lot. And there's sometimes when you're trying to work so hard to achieve something that you kind of start to put your blinkers on to the effects it's having on everything else. And that's definitely the things I've had in the last 3 months, in which it's like, it's got so crazy that it's affecting other areas. So while I want to achieve that goal, I want to make it known to my line manager, the people at work, but I also want to be honest with myself, but I also need to work hard. Don't take a victim's mentality of, this is an excuse, this is why I can't do this is why people at work are causing my problem. No, be in control, be the person to make that. And then another one is, I said one of my things is to my life overarching things to be financially independent. Okay. I'm not going to be financially independent doing traditional work for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Unless you are becoming a stockbroker or someone who's investing lots of money and getting crazy, ridiculous salaries, you're just not going to make it. You're not making it. You're not making it on your own.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm understanding, okay, my situation is I do need to do traditional work right now. I do need to learn from that environment. I do need to get as much as I can to let me work hard. But let me just start with a goal of make £750 outside my salary.
Okay. Yeah.
So last year I set this goal for myself. It was £500. Now I achieved this right at the start of the year because it was right in my brain. It was through selling clothes, and I also picked up another job at a coffee shop. So while it was still work from someone else, it's me getting work that's outside my main salary. So I just hit it. I hit £600 last year. So this year, but I only did it for 2 months. I only did it, and I didn't continue it. That thinking didn't continue. So I haven't gone too crazy in thinking of a number. I've set the number a bit higher, but I want to start thinking, if I'm going to really be about that life, really be about financial independence, let me do something that forces me out there, gets me thinking differently. The next one is back to my YouTube or being digital, you know, have my website, do a bunch of things. This year I hit 1,000 subscribers, which was cool. Next year, I've never actually set my YouTube goal of getting more subscribers, but this year's like, okay, why not? Let's try and take that further. I enjoy YouTube. I enjoy making stuff for it. I enjoy watching stuff on it. Let's try and get to 1,500 subscribers. How will I do that? Now, in the past, I've said, make this many vlogs, make this. And it's like, does that really return the thing you want? Probably not. Should I take a step back and think, how can I make my content more impactful? Am I telling stories when I do something, when I make a piece of content? Am I being consistent enough with the messages I'm trying to send through my channel? Okay, so those are things I've got to consider. Although I do think it's a bit of a, get 1,500 subscribers. Yeah, it's a nice number to have. So I'm a bit cautious of that one. Probably need to think it through a bit more, but that's the next one. Now, as in the years past, I've had loads of athletic objectives of run certain distance. I've only got one this year, and it's athletic would be a strong word. It's get my golf handicap down. Okay, so as to other excuses, I'm going to put them down to excuses and other reasons with my body.
Yeah.
Running distances and lifting lots of weights lifting weights, whatever, but running and like all the triathlon kind of disciplines, it's not likely to happen due to things going on externally and just my body made of chocolate. But golf is something I've got into, and so I've set myself a handicap that I want to get down to. You know, I've not been saying it. I realise that I'm already scared of it, and it's not even that low. But is to get down to 20 handicap, because I made a bet with my mate that by 30 I'll be plus 11. So this year I need to get on it.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's a quick one. And then we kind of move on to something else. It's go on 3 adventures this year. So usually I do, like, I'm pretty good at going and like doing camping trips and doing things. COVID made it a bit hard this year, but I still got something. But with work getting more busy and your responsibilities in growing, it's easier to kind of say, oh, I'm not going to have the time to do as many things or do these vacations. You should always have the time to do something. So 3 adventures, you know, plan them out in advance, book the holidays for them, get them done. And then my last one is to collab with someone else. So whether that's YouTube, I mean, we're kind of already doing this in this podcast, we're collaborating, but is there another space in where, is it the way we're reviewing? Is it through books? Is it through making £750 outside salary? Is it with handicap? You know, can I relate that back to YouTube? Collaborate with someone else. Bring 2 minds together, you know, see how you can benefit them, they benefit you, and you can go forward. And those are my goals.
I mean,
2021.
They are very strong goals. A lot of I was just jotting some questions down to ask you on those. A lot of them were just how, and you pretty much answered that in your next sentence. But let me just pick out on a couple, because to be fair, again, I thought they were very good goals. Definitely an experienced goal setter. You can see that in the way you're talking, the confidence. I like the fact you've gone down to 8 this year. The first one is on your first goal. Then you're investing £3,000. Now, the question is, in what? Is this very much reliant on you getting more knowledge and reading those books to work out where you want to invest? Or do you have any ideas at the moment of what you'd like to invest that money in?
So my initial thinking is towards stocks.
Yep. Okay.
Stocks and shares, and then even crypto, which I need to learn more, but it's there, it's current, it's present. I'll be completely honest, I don't know enough right now. I don't know enough to fully say this and this. But also I feel like a bit of this needs to be, I need to have some skin in the game. Okay. I've hit a target in which I feel like, okay, I can start investing now. Even I know I'm going to be like, oh, am I just giving money away here? So let me just put some money in there. And let me learn as I go, because it's also good reading stuff, reading books all day and getting information. Yes, I'm going to do that. Yes, I'm going to try and speak to some people, but I can start making some initial investments. That are a lot smaller, that will allow me to start tracking, allow me to start just looking. Okay, now I'm actually looking, because I've got some money in there. This is why this is fluctuating. This is why this is going up. Oh, this has affected this, because I've not done that yet. I'm just hearing, I'm just reading some extra things. So I just need to put some skin in the game.
Well, there is actually a stocks and shares ISA that the government do, which could is a good place to start potentially. But anyway, okay, I like the fact you've thought about it then. So you've already got some sort of idea there. And is 3,000 then, is that an achievable, realistic amount of money to invest in for you?
Yes, it's an amount I've picked because I feel like this year I should be able to invest that money and feel okay with everything else.
Okay, perfect. And then the second one I just wanted to pick out was the promotion then. What you talked about, promotion, about working hard, working smart, whatever. Are you on the right path then, do you think, at this current stage, to achieving that?
Yeah. So that's a good point, because you need to ask yourself that, like, are you actually? Now, realistically, when would I be getting promoted? If I'm looking at the thing, if I do everything right, toward the end of 2021, that quarter 4, if I do the right things, I should be in that conversation. I mean, I should be. Quarter 3 with a push. But yes, I've just got to work the right way, be smart, learn, continue to learn, and put myself in a position to make that happen.
Okay, well, and that's the only question I have. In terms of the goals, they seem very, very, very good, pretty achievable, and very specific, which I like to see. You're using the smart.
I like how you picked the investment one, though, because, like you said, that's one where because it's new to me.
I'd say that's the only one.
And the 3 and the number I've just picked out kind of thin air, because I think it's kind of falling into past habits of things I've done with the athletic ones and picking numbers and doing it. Do I really know enough to set that as a goal? You know, and that's something I probably need to review. I probably need to speak to other people who have made their initial investments and see what is a realistic goal for me, because I don't know enough really to be setting that. So I like that you point that out, and I think I will go back and review that.
Yeah, well, I think that's the only goal you have really that's sort of unfamiliar to you. I think all the other goals are goals that you are familiar with and got a decent understanding of. Maybe the golf handicap, you're still new in that area, but the main one, I'd say that's a great area that you probably need to focus on more is that investing. It's just focusing on making sure that is achievable and realistic.
Yeah. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of season 1 of Talking Life podcast. This episode has been one of my favorites.
Me too.
I've enjoyed it. It's a big topic, and I think we discussed a lot of big points, things that people can take away, things that hopefully we can learn from you if you come and feedback on this episode and everything that's going on. Just want to say thank you for anyone who's listened. This is always out there, so the podcast, you can listen to different episodes if you haven't already. Season 2 will be coming eventually, to be determined the date. But from me, thank you for listening.
And just from me as well, guys, I want to echo what Ryan said. This has been one of my favourite episodes. This whole season has been really, really fun doing it. I hope everyone's enjoying it and excited for season 2. Please give us some feedback on this one, because I actually want to hear your guys' goals as well. Because one thing we didn't mention is the fact that it's very good to actually hear other people's goals, to try and find out where you to set your own goals. Like just hearing some of Ryan's goals, then I was thinking, okay, actually, there's some things that I would like to pick out from that for myself as well. So I would like to hear your guys' goals and let us know what you thought about ours, which would be very helpful. So yeah, thank you from me as well. It's been a great season.
Keep it easy, guys.
Peace out.